Space just entered its buddy cop movie phase. NASA and ESA have officially teamed up to crack the biggest cosmic enigma of 2025, the interstellar comet 3I Atlas. Picture this like scientists assemble, but with fewer capes and more coffee stained lab coats. Both agencies decided it was time to stop pretending everything was fine and face the fact that this comet has been showing off like it knows we're watching. So, what made these space rivals suddenly decide to hold hands across the Atlantic? Data, specifically weird data. 3A Atlas, discovered in July 2025, hasn't followed the rules of literally any comet we've studied before. Its orbit curves like it's auditioning for Fast and Furious, Solar Edition. Its chemistry looks custom built, and its brightness has been acting like a cosmic heartbeat. NASA called in the European Space Agency because apparently it's complicated, needed an entire relationship status column in the astrophysics reports. When the first combined readings came in, scientists around the world did that thing cats do when they hear a cucumber hit the floor. They froze. While normal comets spew water and dust, Atlas is releasing way more carbon dioxide than it should, with barely any water ice. Imagine ordering a snow cone, but getting a block of dry ice that wants to talk about quantum physics instead. ESA's ExoMars and the James Webb Telescope both locked onto the object as it swung past Mars, and what they saw only made the story stranger. The comet's coma, that glowing cloud around its core, had structures that looked almost symmetrical. That's practically forbidden in nature unless something's forcing it to behave. And that's when folks started whispering, is 3i Atlas engineered? Cue dramatic sci fi soundtrack and whatever expression your conspiracy theorist friend gets when they're 2 cups of coffee deep. NASA tried to calm everyone down with a statement saying, collaboration between agencies will help us understand this unique comet. Translation: they're panicking professionally. ESA, on the other hand, was a little more poetic. We are facing a visitor born from conditions unknown to our solar neighborhood, which is scientists speak for what the heck is that thing? But here's where it gets deliciously weird. The new data revealed energy spikes in the 1420 megahertz band, the hydrogen line frequency, also known as the universal hello channel. For decades, astronomers have called it the most likely frequency aliens would use to say hi because hydrogen exists everywhere. And yet, here was 3i Atlas, blinking in hydrogen rhythm like a cosmic modem testing its Wi Fi connection. Avi Loeb, because of course he showed up, jumped into interviews faster than you can say press conference. He suggested the comet might be an artificial probe shedding information in the only language we'd recognize, physics. Half the scientific community rolled their eyes. The other half started rewriting their dissertations. Meanwhile, social media did what social media always does, turned panic into art. Memes poured in NASA and ESA on a cosmic date night, comet texting Earth, you up? And the universe is typing, and somehow the entire planet started following the hashtag 3iAtlas trend like it was the World Cup. Over in Houston, mission control engineers reportedly began 24-hour analyses of radio and optical anomalies. In Darmstadt, ESA set up a dedicated data hub called LENS, short for Luminous Entity Network Survey, basically a cosmic CSI lab. Experts from both agencies started swapping spectral maps like kids trading Pokemon cards. One senior researcher even joked, it's the first time our servers crashed from enthusiasm instead of budget cuts. But it's not all satellite selfies and memes. The combined team detected faint brightening cycles every 27 hours, a pattern no natural outgassing could explain. Think of it as the comet doing slow motion breathing exercises. One NASA scientist called it a possible rotational pulse phenomenon. Another said, yeah, or it's tapping its foot while we catch up. ESA's spectrography division also found nickel vapor without iron, the chemistry equivalent of seeing a burger without a bun. That combination simply shouldn't exist outside extreme metal separation conditions. Cue another round of late night zooms and existential crises. Then came the Jupiter theory. Joint orbital models showed that Atlas would pass close enough to the giant planet's magnetosphere to potentially trigger electromagnetic feedback, meaning any communication signals could get amplified like a cosmic bass boost. If you start hearing bass drops from space next year, don't panic. It's probably Atlas dropping its mixtape via Jupiter. And because every good mystery needs its philosophical hero, Loeb wrapped up his latest paper with a quote predestined for TikTok clips: "If Atlas tests our ability to recognize intention in the unfamiliar, then science itself is part of the experiment." Translation: we're being graded by the universe, so try not to fail. And that's where we stand today. NASA and ESA joining forces. Google searches for hydrogen line up 500%, and everyone from kids to grandparents pointing telescopes at a frozen rock humming in space. It's a collective moment of awe we haven't felt in decades. Maybe it's just a comet. Maybe it is something more. But either way, we're all learning something vital. Curiosity still works better than Wi Fi when it comes to connecting the world. So grab your popcorn, folks. The next chapter is just starting, and if NASA and ESA are finally sharing notes, you know it's serious. Stay tuned for part two, where we'll dig into what these two space giants are really finding in the Atlas data and whether the cosmos just slid into our DMs again. All right, team, grab a drink, preferably carbonated, because apparently the comet's burping carbon dioxide like it's hosting a cosmic barbecue. When NASA and ESA joined forces, we expected charts, graphs, maybe a polite science paper. What we got instead? Drama. Reality show level drama between planets. So, here's the latest cosmic gossip. As the Atlas Alliance handles pending trademark poured through their joint data, they realized the object's outgassing is so precise it's almost clockwork. Each eruption comes from the same spots, at the same angles, like someone installed space valves to keep its trajectory steady. Naturally, scientists called these localized jets. We call them exhaust pipes because it's way more fun to say out loud. Now imagine the scene at mission headquarters: two teams of scientists peering at screens, arguing like musicians in a garage band. NASA, mechanical behavior. ESA, natural resonance. Avi Loeb, probably lurking somewhere on Zoom. Alien probe. Someone spills coffee on a laptop, and half of Twitter thinks it's a confirmed signal. But beyond the jokes, the Alliance is uncovering gold. For the first time, data from ESA's orbital spectrometer and NASA's infrared array actually overlapped perfectly, which never happens. And both showed trace metals, chromium, nickel, magnesium, in quantities so imbalanced they defy known astrophysical formation models. That's a scientific way of saying nature doesn't build stuff like this, but sure, let's pretend it does for now. Then there's the motion problem. 3i Atlas is losing speed in ways that don't fit with gravitational drag. Some brilliant intern somewhere pointed out that the shift matches solar wind pressure, except too accurately. It's like Atlas has its own autopilot. Cue the headline: the solar system now has cruise control. The Alliance found something else chilling: magnetic echo patterns traced around the comet's coma. They're circular, constant, and reflect low frequency carry waves near the hydrogen line again. Yeah, that one. I know what you're thinking. Either it's trying to communicate, or we just discovered the universe's deepest space track. Either way, this comet has rhythm. ESA's chief engineer gave an interview saying the anomalies may originate from non homogeneous outgassing regions. Translation for us non professors: the comet's burping weird, and we don't know why. NASA's response press release was basically, yep, same. Look, no shade, even the most serious scientists are struggling to wrap their brains around how something so ancient acts so organized. And just when you think the story plateaus, Atlas throws in another plot twist. Last week, the coordinated survey from the ESA's Gaia telescope spotted a secondary halo forming behind the comet. Not dust, not gas, a plasma ribbon that oscillates every 142 seconds. Deja vu, right? Hydrogen line protocol again. It's like Atlas keeps saying hello in different dialects just to prove we're listening. At this point, even non believers are scratching their heads. Because if it isn't a signal, it's one heck of a cosmic coincidence. And if it is a signal, then this is the weirdest way to slide into someone's DMs across light years. The Alliance now plans to focus a combined array of deep space antennas between Australia, Spain, and California, basically a multi continental ear turned toward the skies. One NASA director called it straight up space eavesdropping, which sounds way cooler than interferometry synchronization. They expect results by December, which means by Christmas we might all be gifting each other tinfoil hats. Meanwhile, on Earth, sales of home telescopes have exploded. That's right, humanity can't agree on pizza toppings, but tell us a comet might be blinking at us and suddenly everyone's Neil deGrasse Tyson for a week. Across social media, people are uploading backyard observations under hashtag Atlas Pulse. We even saw a guy in Brazil point his camera at a ceiling fan with green LEDs to prove his living room was synced with the cosmos. 10 out of 10 for effort. And look, we get it. It's thrilling. We love this moment because it's one of those rare times when the whole planet geeks out together like a global classroom. ESA and NASA may be leading the investigation, but the real experiment is happening right here, us watching, arguing, wondering. Because no matter how this ends, 3i Atlas already achieved something phenomenal. It made us curious again. So stick around. In our next episode, we'll see what happens when the Alliance points those giant radio ears toward the comet's outskirts and whether they catch a reply that finally makes sense or one that makes everything even stranger. Because let's face it, with 3i Atlas, the universe isn't done messing with us yet. All right, welcome back to the cosmic soap opera where NASA and ESA play the roles of frenemies turned investigative partners. This is the moment when the suspense music kicks in, the one right before the plot twist where the scientists look up from the monitor and say, wait, that can't be right. After months of nonstop analysis, fueled by caffeine, existential dread, and several thousand pizza boxes, the joint team finally started to piece together a story that sounds like science fiction written by an intern on too little sleep. Atlas wasn't just acting weird, it was performing. Pulse after pulse, as if choreographed, every emission lined up with solar cycles like a cosmic metronome. And if this object is truly natural, then nature apparently has an engineering degree. Let's set the scene. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California, ESA's ESOC in Germany, hundreds of scientists working 24/7 on what they now casually call the Atlas case. Their data wall looks like something out of a hacker movie, overlapping wavelengths, graphs, and a team lead yelling, "Who turned off the UV filter again?" Then came the carbon mystery. NASA's infrared array and ESA's ExoMars spectrometer confirmed the CO2 ratio at 8 to 1, sustained even near the sun, where a normal comet would basically vaporize like ice cream on a summer sidewalk. Atlas didn't care. It kept its chill. Literally. It's thermally stable, one researcher said, followed by another adding, and emotionally unavailable. Scientists laughed because comedy is the last defense against physics that refuses to cooperate. But things really spiraled after ESA detected nickel particles floating in the coma without iron. That's like finding sprinkles with no donut. It makes no geological sense. The only known way to separate those elements that cleanly is industrial refining or, space wizards. Add to that the bizarre, persistent hydrogen line emissions, and you get a scenario where every "it's probably just a comet" argument starts to sound like wishful thinking. NASA's public statement was, "We're observing unique magnetic interactions." ESA's director replied dryly, "So unique that no known equation fits." Translation: they're both panicking politely. And we haven't even reached the best part yet. A newly released video from ESA's Trace Gas Orbiter shows Atlas emitting filament-like jets that twist, pulse, and, we kid you not, align with the planet Mars for nearly 5 seconds. Every instrument spiked during that alignment. The signal wasn't random static. It was clean, consistent, and repeating 1,420 megahertz again, the frequency that's haunted SETI researchers for decades. Social media lost it, obviously. Hashtag Atlas Response trended worldwide. One user posted, NASA is collabing with aliens before they collab with influencers, which might be the greatest line since Oumuamua memes. In Brazil, a live-streamed watch party filled an entire stadium. People were cheering for a comet like it was the World Cup. Only space can get that kind of hype. Back at Mission Control, though, enthusiasm turned into tension. They ran cross-checks. Was it a satellite leak, solar interference, radio echo? Negative, negative, negative. Every test pointed the same way. The signal was real, localized, and coming exactly from Atlas's path. Then, of course, the plot thickened further. A mysterious anomaly appeared trailing the comet, a thin halo of plasma that followed it for millions of kilometers. The European team dubbed it the Echo Belt. NASA called it probably a solar wind artifact. Avi Loeb called it the interstellar calling card. Who's right? No idea. But we'd like to point out that Loeb's, probably aliens, batting average is better than most weather forecasts. If this all sounds chaotic, that's because it is. Scientists from 7 nations are now collaborating under a program codenamed Project Signal, a global list of objectives including mapping long term spectral pulses, modeling Atlas's internal dynamics, and, apparently, making sure none of them accidentally email Elon Musk the raw data. ESA's head of deep space operations, Dr. Renata Voss, said in an interview, "We may have underestimated its coherence. Atlas behaves as if responding to solar triggers before they occur." Translation: it's predicting solar flares. A rock from another star system is outsmarting our space weather satellites. Try sleeping after hearing that. NASA's reply: you can call it alien when it calls back. Funny, because hours after that statement, the Deep Space Network picked up, yes, a double band hydrogen echo precisely 142 seconds apart. The internet went feral. Reddit threads were longer than PhD dissertations. TikTok astronomers were dancing to beep sounds. And someone started an AI remix of the signal called Atlas Says Hi. Incredible. So, what's next for the Atlas Alliance? They're preparing to redirect the Juno probe, yeah, the Jupiter one, onto a new deep space flyby trajectory to intersect Atlas's post perihelion path. This would make Juno the first human made object to chase down an interstellar visitor. Picture it: a solar powered spacecraft speeding toward a cosmic tourist that may or may not be sending us pings. If that's not cinematic, nothing is. Avi Loeb just published another paper because he never sleeps, arguing that the only explanation consistent with data and chemistry is non natural manufacture. His closing line: if Atlas was built, its builders are scientists too. Even his critics had to admit goosebumps. Meanwhile, the ESA control room has become a meme zone. Someone taped a sign over the big monitor reading, "Do not panic," yet. Engineers claim the only thing scarier than 3i Atlas is the funding spreadsheet. Still, here's the real beauty of it. Whether Atlas turns out to be an alien beacon, a misunderstood rock, or the universe's loudest practical joke, this collaboration has rekindled something we lost for a while: collective wonder. For the first time in decades, scientists, students, journalists, and late night pizza eaters are united under one question: what if we're being noticed? Maybe the comet isn't transmitting intentionally. Maybe it's just physics playing jazz with light and magnetism. But even if it's a fluke, the pursuit itself is teaching humanity to listen again. NASA and ESA aren't just decoding data, they're reminding us that curiosity can bridge governments, languages, and that endless void between "we don't know" and "let's find out." So the next time Atlas blinks, remember, it's not just a comet out there, it's a mirror. And every signal we send, every laugh, every theory typed into a Reddit comment at 3 a.m. echoes back the same truth. We are part of the universe trying to understand itself. And honestly, that's bigger than finding aliens. But we'd still like to meet them. But the world wasn't content just watching from the sidelines. Amateur astronomers, armed with gear ranging from Walmart binoculars to telescopes that double as Wi Fi extenders, joined the hunt. Across Discord servers, data flowed faster than gossip in a small town. Did someone in New Zealand really capture a new Atlas blip? Or is that just a sleepy sheep blinking too close to the camera? Science, people, sometimes it's glorious chaos. It's not all lab coats and calculations. ESA hosted a global Atlas Live night, streaming fresh comet images to millions. The comments section? A blend of "it's aliens, my telescope melted," and "am I allowed to eat snacks near the computer?" One teacher in Portugal even handed extra credit for students who submitted memes about nickel no iron chemistry, grades pending. Meanwhile, in the hallways of NASA, Old school rivalry tried to rear its head. You guys only found this because we doubled your budget, one American engineer taunted. The European reply, sure, but we made it fashionable. Before you know it, a team member from Spain started a trending hashtag Comet Couture on TikTok, rating each spectrograph image for style and dramatic flair. And the data just won't quit. The more teams look, the more oddities pop up. Some pulses last longer at night on Earth than during local day, as if Atlas itself is playing hide and seek with our planet's rotation. We call that the peekaboo effect, said Dr. Renata, who has now become a meme with her nightly video dispatches concluding, we have no clue, but it's beautiful. There's the matter of exoplanet speculation now, too. As soon as the hydrogen line signals stabilized, SETI teams across the globe repointed their arrays to the Atlas ecliptic, just in case we were in the beam of an interstellar hello. One day into the campaign, records show thousands of petabytes collected, but the summary so far, aliens have not responded to our mixtape, but we'll keep remixing. Isn't that the story of humanity? Back at Mission Control, the tension is high, but spirits are surprisingly good. NASA engineers organized the first Hydrogen Line Hootenanny, a potluck night with signal-themed snacks, burst pulse popcorn, anyone, and a contest for the best Atlas-inspired haiku. Winner, Frozen Cosmic Wink slash Nickel Carbon Hydrogen slash Is This Thing Alive? Public engagement has become its own science experiment. People are sending in wild theories. Atlas is a message in a bottle, a cosmic smart speaker, the universe's sneakiest influencer. Every question opens 100 more. Journalists are actually reading the preprints for once, and YouTuber breakdowns are more accurate than some cable news segments. Of course, not everything is fun and games. Some governments have called for space traffic audits, demanding that future probes be fitted with special beacons to avoid Atlas level confusion events. The FAA wants a new comet flight plan form. China announced they're building their own deep space detector to catch the next weird visitor before NASA does. And now comes a twist only reality could pull. Just as teams were prepping the Juno slingshot maneuver, Atlas itself unleashed a mini outburst, a sudden spike in brightness and plasma, followed by a perfectly timed drop. For a few minutes, telescopes everywhere saw a signature that, when plotted, actually spelled a shape like a question mark. Coincidence? Loeb says this comet has a sense of humor. ESA's latest, a collaborative AI is crunching every Atlas pulse, looking for patterns no human would dare imagine. NASA's response? We hope the AI doesn't become a cult leader. And somewhere, some graduate student is writing the world's first thesis titled Atlas to Earth: How to Build Meaning with Burps. What's next for the Atlas Alliance? They're preparing synchronized signal watch parties for the next perihelion window, hoping to catch the moment when Atlas hits sunlight just right. The dream is to record a data set big enough for every school, every science club, every stargazer to analyze, a sort of open source SETI for the planet. Meanwhile, the underlying message is clear. Even as science climbs new mountains, the climb is more fun with company. ESA and NASA keep up their friendly feud. The public feels like part of the crew, and somewhere in the dark, a comet or something stranger might just be listening to all the noise we're making. And if this story somehow ends with Atlas being just a comet, well, what a comet. It ignited curiosity, unity, and the wildest data party Earth has ever thrown. And you are here for it, proof that sometimes the universe's best trick is simply bringing us together to wonder out loud.